Marcus Aurelius carried a secret practice into battle that modern psychologists now say reduces anxiety by 40%, and it starts with imagining everything going wrong. You felt it, the knot in your stomach before a meeting, the racing thoughts at 3 a.m., the dread of what might happen if you fail, if they leave, if the market crashes, if the diagnosis is serious. We spend so much energy trying to avoid those thoughts. But the Stoics did the opposite. They leaned in. Not to dwell, but to disarm. This is Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of evils. Not pessimism. Not fear-mongering. But a deliberate rehearsal of loss, failure, or hardship, so that when it comes, and it will, you meet it not with panic, but with poise. Imagine you're preparing for a job interview. Most people rehearse their answers. The Stoic also rehearses being rejected. Not to expect rejection, but to realize, even if it happens, I will endure. My worth isn't tied to this outcome. My peace remains intact. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, commander of legions, father of 13 children, only 6 survived to adulthood, wrote in his private journal, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." He didn't write this to curse humanity. He wrote it to inoculate himself against outrage. To remove the shock of disappointment. He knew, suffering multiplies when reality violates our expectations. But if you've already walked through the fire in your mind, the real flames burn less fiercely. This is not about bracing for disaster. It's about reclaiming agency. Anxiety lives in the unknown. But Premeditatio Malorum brings the unknown into the light, and asks, and then what? Not, what if I lose my job, but, if I lose my job, what will I do next? Not, what if my partner leaves, but, if they do, how will I honor myself in the aftermath? The practice shifts you from victim to witness, from, this shouldn't be happening, to, this is happening. Now, how shall I respond? Seneca, advisor to emperors and one of Rome's wealthiest men, practiced poverty once a month. He'd sleep on the floor, eat plain bread, wear rough wool. Why? To remind himself, I can live without luxury. So when exile came, as it did, twice, he wasn't shattered. He wrote letters from Corsica that read like meditations on freedom. He understood, attachment to comfort is the seed of terror. But voluntary discomfort is liberation. Now, in 2026, we don't face exile or legionary battles. But we face layoffs in silence, breakups over text, climate grief scrolling through headlines, the gnawing sense that everything is fragile. And instead of preparing, we distract. We scroll. We binge. We numb. But what if, instead, you sat quietly for 5 minutes each morning and asked, what's the worst that could happen today? Not to catastrophize, but to meet it with clarity. Perhaps your flight gets cancelled. You imagine it, the frustration, the delay. Then you ask, can I handle waiting? Can I find patience? Can I use the time to read, to breathe, to observe? And suddenly, the cancellation loses its power to ruin your day. Or perhaps a friend doesn't reply. You imagine the silence stretching. You feel the sting of neglect. Then you remind yourself, their response is not yours to control. Your peace is. This is the quiet rebellion of Premeditatio Malorum. It refuses to let external events dictate your inner state. It builds a fortress not of denial, but of readiness. Modern psychology calls it stress inoculation training. Navy SEALs use it. Therapists prescribe it for generalized anxiety. But the Stoics were doing it 2,000 years ago, not as therapy, but as philosophy. As a way of life. And here's what most miss: this practice isn't just for big tragedies. It's for daily irritations, the spilled coffee, the rude email, the missed train. These are your training grounds. Because resilience isn't forged in catastrophe. It's honed in the small moments when you choose calm over complaint. When you whisper, "I saw this coming. And I am still whole." Now, let's be clear, this is not about expecting the worst. That's cynicism. Premeditatio Malorum is about accepting possibility, not predicting probability. There's a difference. You don't walk through life assuming betrayal. You simply acknowledge, betrayal is possible. And if it comes, I will not collapse. I will not become bitter. I will respond with integrity. Marcus didn't imagine his generals turning traitor because he distrusted them. He imagined it because he trusted himself, to remain just, even in injustice. So how do you begin? Start small. Each evening, ask, what challenged me today? Then, tomorrow morning, ask, what might challenge me tomorrow? Visualize it, not with drama, but with detachment. See yourself responding with steadiness. Write it down. 3 sentences. If X happens, I will remember Y. I will act with Z. This isn't magical thinking. It's mental architecture. You're building rooms in your mind where courage already lives. Another exercise: once a week, practice voluntary loss. Skip a meal. Turn off your phone for half a day. Sleep without heat or AC, safely. Not to punish yourself, but to prove to yourself, I need less than I think. My happiness isn't dependent on perfect conditions. Seneca said, "The man who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive." Anticipation here isn't worry. It's preparation wrapped in acceptance. And here's a subtle point: Premeditatio Malorum only works when paired with gratitude. You imagine losing your home, not to induce fear, but to feel awe for having one. You imagine illness, not to spiral, but to appreciate your breath right now. The Stoics didn't dwell on darkness. They used it to see the light more clearly. Now, beware the trap, using this practice to feed anxiety. If you find yourself spiraling, what if the plane crashes? What if I get sick? What if, stop. Return to the body. Breathe. Ask, is this rehearsal serving my peace, or stealing it? Premeditatio Malorum is a tool, not a torment. Its goal is freedom, not fixation. If it tightens your chest, you've strayed from the path. Gently return. Remember the soldier before battle. He doesn't imagine victory only. He imagines wounds, retreat, chaos. Not to despair, but to know, whatever comes, I am ready. My training holds. My purpose remains. You are that soldier. Your battlefield is the inbox, the hospital waiting room, the silent apartment after a breakup. And your armor? Clarity. Acceptance. The quiet knowledge that you have faced this possibility before, in your mind, and survived. We'll come back to Marcus in a moment. But first, consider this: which version of you shows up when things go wrong? The one who screams, "Why me?" Or the one who says, "All right. Now what?" Most people wait for crisis to reveal their character. The Stoic reveals it in advance, through rehearsal. Through choice. Through daily return to the question, what truly depends on me? And the answer is always the same, my judgment. My action. My attention. Not the outcome. Not others' behavior. Not the weather, the market, the past. Only this moment, and how I meet it. Now, recall Marcus Aurelius, not on a throne, but in a war tent near the Danube, cold mud underfoot, plague spreading through his ranks, rebellions flaring across the empire. He opens his journal. He writes, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He didn't write that in ease. He wrote it in extremity. Because he had practiced imagining extremity long before it arrived. So tonight, before sleep, try this: name one thing you fear losing. Imagine it gone. Sit with that image. Don't rush to fix it. Just observe. Then ask, who would I be without it? Not broken. Not empty. Perhaps, freer. Because loss strips away illusion. It reveals what was never yours to keep, and what was always yours to carry, your reason, your virtue, your capacity to choose your response. This is the gift of Premeditatio Malorum. It doesn't prevent pain. Nothing can. But it ensures pain doesn't become poison. You might wonder, doesn't this make life bleak? On the contrary. By facing the worst, you stop wasting energy pretending it won't happen. You stop postponing joy until everything is perfect. You start living now, with eyes open, heart steady, hands ready. The Stoics loved life fiercely, precisely because they knew it could end at any moment. Their love wasn't conditional on safety. It was unconditional, like sunlight. So imagine the crash. Then imagine getting up. Imagine the silence. Then imagine speaking your truth anyway. Imagine the loss. Then imagine the space it leaves, for new growth, new clarity, new strength. This week, try one small act of Premeditatio Malorum each morning. 5 minutes. Pen and paper. No grand disasters, just one realistic challenge. Rehearse your response. Anchor it in what you control. Notice how your day changes. Notice the reduction in reactivity. Notice the quiet confidence that grows, not from certainty, but from readiness. And when the real storm comes, and it will, you won't be the one trembling in the corner. You'll be the one lighting candles, offering water, speaking calmly. Because you've been here before. In your mind. In your practice. In your soul. Marcus Aurelius carried this practice into battle. You carry it into your office, your home, your relationships. Same principle. Same peace. The world will break your plans. It always does. But it cannot break your resolve, if you've already met the breaking in your imagination, and chosen to remain whole. So prepare for the worst. Not with fear. But with the quiet dignity of one who knows, no matter what comes, I am still here. Still choosing. Still free. If any of these ideas resonated, I've linked the books in the description. And in that freedom, you find something rare in our age, unshakable calm.